Welcome, everybody. I am your host, Dan Shake.
And I'm Rena Robanelli, and we're so excited to be having this event tonight. Dan, can you believe we're doing another event so soon, so quickly?
Way too fast. We just had our last competition, but you can't hold us down. You can't stop us. We're an event-making machine.
The camera loves us, baby.
This event, Amplifying Women's event, is really the birthchild of Rena, and she really was inspired by the women that are speaking here tonight. And I'm so proud of both Rena and the women here because this is all about you guys, and I'm really proud to be a part of this journey. So for those of you that don't know Speaker Slam and are finding out about this for the first time, Speaker Slam started as 5 years ago as a birthchild between me and Rena. People think we're a couple, but we're not. We are the most adorable friends that could have ever happened. And Speaker Slam has now become North America's largest inspirational speaking competition, and it's been a journey, a fun journey. And what we've seen is that Speaker Slam has become a platform for people to share vulnerability and to be seen and heard. We watched over the years as our speakers had cathartic healing experiences. We saw their speeches explode online and get massive views, and it started to make a difference in people's lives. We saw them leveraging their success to build movements and their own momentum in their own speaker journeys. And we're really excited tonight to have some of the speakers here with us. We got the OG, the first viral sensation with over 35 million views, Gina Hatsis in the building as our guest speaker. And of course, the most recent winner of them all, the 2020 Inspirational Speaker of the Year, Merlina Valentine. They're all here. And this journey just isn't complete without the fact that along this journey, we've created the Emerging Speakers Training Program so that people could get help on their message and create viral-worthy speeches. And along the way, we've also created Youth Slam for kids under 17. And now we have the Amplifying Voices to help give a light to the voices that need to be heard the most. So we're honored to have you, and we're excited to be a part of this journey with you.
And Amplifying Voices was really important to us because we wanted to be able to create events around the issues that were really important. And the thing that we came up with time and time again is people saying, I really want to share my voice. I want to be seen and heard, but I don't want to compete. And so we thought that Amplifying Voices was the perfect opportunity to be able to provide a platform for that. And I think now more than ever, with this being International Women's Day, it's the perfect time to align that, because I think the thing that we've been most proud of is being a platform for women, being able to shine a light on them, to be a part of their success, to be able to give them an opportunity to soar and to lead the way for other women. So we're really excited to be able to integrate the two, and we decided to do this event. And what's really exciting for me is that the reason this whole event came to be is I just happened to be on Facebook, and somebody tagged me, and she had posted this beautiful poem, and a friend said, you need to get on Speaker Slam. And I just swooped in and said, okay, we're going to make an event around this. And I think within the next day we had the link up and the event was ready. And so I'm excited to introduce our speakers later. And one of the speakers who really helped birth this event tonight is going to be sharing. But before we get into that, I really want to introduce our first speaker. And the way this evening is going to work is we have a couple fabulous guest speakers who we brought in, and then we're going to be hearing from some different women in the community. I think we have like 16 women who are going to share for 2 minutes. I'm really excited about that. I almost forgot. The most important thing is that we were going to draw 2 more names. And I think it's probably a better idea if we do that right now so that those 2 women can have time to prep and get ready. And so we came up with a cool way to do this, so you know this is random. So Dan, are you able to share your screen?
I am, and we're gonna make some magic right now.
Let's make magic. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, yes it is. Wait for it. Oh
Wait
yeah.
for it.
All right. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. We have the wheel of fortune, if you will, of the speakers that are going to be picked. There's 2 speakers that are going to pick, right, Rena?
Yes.
Hmm. All right. Do you want to? Let's create some suspense here, people. Let's make some noise. The first speaker getting picked out of this group is Valeria Ponis. Come on. I'm gonna I'm gonna send you an email.
That's a bit
How crazy.
anticlimactic. Come
I
on.
know. I'm gonna send you
your
an email. Check your inbox. But seriously, check your inbox. This is all the tech behind the scenes. We got to make it work effortlessly.
And we
All
will.
right, we're gonna draw one more. All right, magic. Oh, worst spin ever.
I think you just click on it.
Much better. Nicole Shiner. All right, ladies. I am going to be sending you a email, and watch that very closely.
Yes. Okay. So
Rena, before you continue, maybe you want to stretch things out a little. I don't see Gina in the backstage.
you know what's interesting is that I also said that, but Gina said she's here. So I'm curious about the tech issues around that.
Why don't we start with the passion speech share?
Okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we actually start with the woman who started this all off for us? This fabulous woman, Daniela Chase, is going to be sharing tonight. Let's hear from Daniela.
Good evening. I'm so thrilled to be here tonight to share this work that kickstarted the entire event. Women are magic. We perceive, we receive, we conceive, we believe. Sometimes we can be naive. We are made to co-create. We nurture, we nourish, we falter, we flourish. We naturally tap into our deepest resources and become the sources of what we see that meets the needs of those before us. We are the heart of our families. We perceive, we receive, we conceive, we achieve, we cleave and believe to the best and the brightest, sharing what light is until darkness descends. And then women grieve, hearts heavy with longing for a hint of reprieve. Women all too often forget our own needs. We serve and we sacrifice, we bend and we bleed. We share the essence of our light and our fire so generously, regardless how dire, until even we can burn out, having neglected the need to replenish ourselves. We are so powerful. And still somehow we've allowed ourselves to be deceived, to come to believe that we must bank our fire, temper our wild, soar no higher, become small, and even smaller still. To alleviate some false fear that we could somehow consume the air that those around us need to breathe. We are made to stoke our fires, not bank them. We are made to dance on the air, burn bright as we dare, and brighter still without a care, to light the way for every prayer with what we so freely and lovingly share. We are beacons on a hill, to dance by the light of our fire, still letting our liquid golden light spill, cascading over around, until all gather together and none keep still. We are made to love with abandon. We are made raw, radiant, real. We are made to fully feel every emotion from its height to its depths, to crush the shards of our past into dust as we heal. We are made to embody eternity, to conquer calamity, to forego enmity as we offer our empathy. We are made of so much more than we care to indulge in, so much more than we dare to imagine. We are made of such heady stuff, and still we labor to believe we're enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. That was so beautiful. It was the perfect way. See, things have a way of working out the way they're supposed to. So that was a beautiful way to start the show. So thank you so much for that. And thank you really for being the catalyst for this whole event happening. So we love you, and that was amazing. And I'm going to move on now to introduce our first guest speaker of the night. Now, Gina has been a 20+ year corporate speaker, facilitator. She's a women's empowerment advocate. But most importantly, Gina was on the Speaker Slam stage, and she won Speaker Slam. She went on to get probably 33 million views, one of our biggest viral sensations, and launch her Too Much Woman movement across the country, across the world. She's done events everywhere. She's really what people in our world are striving to achieve, to be able to make an impact with her voice. We've had an amazing journey together, and I'm really excited to introduce Gina Hassis.
So my mother shot me the look from across the room. And I knew right away that I'd better stop crying and get with the program, because this was a happy moment, damn it. And she was about to take a picture to prove it. I think it was my 5th birthday, 6th, 7th. See, there's this running joke in my family that this drama queen cried at every single one of my birthday parties. I mean, there I am in every single picture, my face splotched with pink puddles of emotion, sobbing behind the birthday cake, tears dripping into the chocolate frosting. I mean, I honestly don't remember why I cried. Maybe my party dress was itchy. Maybe I hated my bowl cut. Maybe the cake was the wrong flavor. Maybe I could sense the tension, the sadness, the exhaustion all crammed into our family room, where we had these big fat parties with a gazillion people and cranky babies and fake smiles and unrequited dreams and married people who secretly hated one another. Maybe I just needed a nap. I was a drama queen, and the name stuck to me like sap, and with it, this intrinsic belief that my feelings weren't important. So very early on, I learned to swallow my emotions, gobs of them, choking them down like cotton balls, my truth just scraping the back of my throat on its way down. And I learned to keep my feelings in check, to suppress my truth, to bite my lip. I mean, no wonder the chronic sore throats. So much swallowing and gagging and swallowing again. I mean, isn't it fascinating how young women learn to swallow and gag? What I know for sure is that for all the work I've done on myself, for all the work that we've all done on ourselves, each one of us has a chapter in our book that we don't read aloud. I mean, there's 9-year-old me in drama camp dodging my counselor, who said that he needed to work alone with me backstage to get my part just right. There's 16-year-old me dumbing down my genius in school because a girl could only ever be pretty or smart, not both. There's 30-year-old me binding my breasts in a male-dominated speaker industry so that the men's club would take me seriously. I have so many stories like this, mental filing cabinets full of them, and as women, we all do. And mine actually pale in comparison to some of the ones that I've heard. So what is this day about, and why do I care so damn much? I was once told that as a woman, I carry the sadness and the longing of our ancestors in ourselves. Just hold that in your body for a moment. This actually made me think about the women who came before, who laid the path so that I could learn their stories. Like my grandmother, Connie, her picture sits on a frame of my bedside table. Now, before you cue the sentimental music, Dan, I didn't really know my grandmother. We weren't connected by sweet memories of baking cookies and cuddling with a book. No, we never had that. She lived a rough life, very far away, separated by distance, lots of regret. But still, our connection is profound. And in a weird way, it's deeper in her death than in her life. You see, she comes to visit me when I'm most afraid, not to offer advice or comfort, but to remind me of the legacy of the women who came before. She stands with me in solidarity with her mother and her mother's mother to bear witness to my life. You see, these women weren't coddlers or dreamers. They didn't have stars in their eyes like I did. They were women with limited choices. There is nothing romantic here about their stories. But their lives served a great purpose because we stand on their shoulders. And I feel palpably the energy of their unfinished business. It runs like lightning bolts up my legs, gripping my heart. 2 years ago, on this very day, in this very dress, I was seated on stage at a Q&A panel at the International Women's Summit in Phoenix, Arizona. I was invited to deliver my Too Much Woman speech among some of the giants in my industry, people I had looked up to all my life: Liz Gilbert, Glennon Doyle, Christiane Northrup, Tara Wright Trent, Lisa Nichols. Now, delivering my speech on the stage, that was the easy part. I had done it 100 times. But there was this VIP lunch where people had paid big money to have their questions answered by these extraordinary women. And I don't know why they invited me. I was honored just to be invited to the table. What I imagined was I'd be sitting there kind of at the end, like dangling off the side of the stage, and that would have been enough. But in some weird freak turn of events, they had me sitting right in the middle of the table, of the stage, flanked by these like mountainous women. So I quickly made a game plan. I'm like, no sudden movement. I was just gonna smile pretty and try to look natural, like I fit in, until it was over. So I was completely unprepared when a few minutes in, someone at the back of the room asked me a question. The whole room fell silent. It was like this was my defining moment. And I had to dig deep, and I had to yank at the roots of my unworthiness. And my grandmother came to me, and I spoke from my highest self. And what happened after that changed me forever, forever. Lisa Nichols pounded on the table. She's like, yes, yes. She grabbed my hand and she whispered in my ear. She said, you're a genius. I hope you know that. And someone in the panel on my right said, I think Gina should answer the rest of the questions. And in that pivotal moment, my cellular structure changed. And I want you to hear this, because I was clear in that moment that the question is no longer, am I worthy? Are you worthy of sitting at the table? I mean, that is so 2020. Of course we're worthy. The question is, will you no longer gag and swallow? The question is, will you answer the call? International Women's Day is a call to arms. It's a battle cry born from the shredded lungs of any woman who has ever been muted, every witch that's ever been burned. To our muzzled ancestors of yesterday, our muted sisters who are alive today, our daughters of tomorrow, let's make a deal right here and right now, not to dilute our potion, not to shrink in the shadows. Let's not agree to be sipped delicately from a glass when you and I are meant to be chugged from the bottle. Let's make a deal. No more swallowing, no more gagging, because sisters, it's our freaking party and we're gonna cry if we want to. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. I'm just like sitting here in shivers and tears. And that is truly the hallmark of an amazing inspirational speaker, if they can bring you to that state. And that was Gina Hass's showing why she's probably the most popular, powerful speaker we've had in 5 years at Speaker Slam. So thank you so much for that. That was an amazing way to just really start the show. And I'm excited to get into hearing the women share. It's people like Gina that are really trailblazing for the rest of us. So we're going to move on to our next speaker of the night, which is Andrea Hudson.
Now I know my ABCs. I finally know my ABCs. I must admit that it took me a little while to figure them out. For years, I've looked at others live out their ABCs and even become their ABCs. And I'm glad to say that I can finally join the ranks of those that know their ABCs. Now, I'm not referring to the alphabet, but I am referring to my identity. I'm Andrea Hudson, a strong Black woman, unapologetic and unashamed. You see, you will get what you see, and you will see what you get. By no means do I have it all together, not at all. But I remind myself of my ABCs when I hear those voices of doubt and uncertainty that speaks to my ears, asking me, can you really accomplish this? Will you literally live out your dreams? Are you enough? Are you worthy? You know, those type of questions. So I pull out my ABCs and I tell myself almost every day, Andrea, you are authentic. I am the best version of me as they come. God created an original, not a carbon copy. I am beautifully and wonderfully made by Him. So I must decide that I must be myself and I must stay true to myself. If I choose to be anyone else, I'm doing a disservice to the masterpiece that He created. Authenticity is the new sexy. Oh, yes, it is. And duplication is outdated and overrated. Ladies, why copy another woman? You are perfectly imperfect, which is your beauty and your cutting edge. There's a world that wants you. There's a world that wants me, my authenticity, my transparency, my voice, my light. Then I remind myself that I wasn't created to live in fear, so I must be bold, fearless, free, and determined. Fearless, free, and determined. You are fearless, free, and determined. Even if you feel afraid, you must do it afraid. I just came back from Mexico literally 1 hour ago to speak at my first international speaking engagement. I've never left the country without my husband. This was the first time I actually went out of the country without my husband. It was a silent fear of mine. But I made up in my mind that, girlfriend, you got to conquer your fears, even the little ones that you think really don't matter. My boldness spoke to me and said, girl, get on that plane because you have another country that is waiting to hear your voice, unapologetic and unashamed. You can't be bold and authentic living a life of fear and intimidation. Ladies, we must remind ourselves, we are bold chicks and we have something to say. I'm a bold chick that deserves to be heard, and I will conquer my fears. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of people, you know, those type of fears. You will conquer your fear because you are a bold woman. Now I know my ABC. Last but definitely not least, I'm confident. Confidence is not arrogance. I know that this society and culture is still intimidated by a confident woman. You know, our society labels us another derogatory name if they see us walking in confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is the attitude that I've got it all together, I'm good by myself, and I don't need the help of others. But confidence is the opposite. When you're confident in who you are ready to serve and help others with the knowledge and information that you have. I've realized that there is nothing impossible that God and I cannot handle. Therefore, I'm not really confident in me, but I'm confident in the partnership that I've created with him, because the gifts that he's placed in me are gifts that are to be displayed for the world. I am confident because I realize can't no one do what I do better than me. So ladies, on this International Women's Day, in this month where we celebrate women's history and we celebrate the strides and the accomplishments that our ancestors and our predecessors have accomplished ahead of us, I need to ask you a question tonight. Do you know your ABCs? Are you embracing your authenticity? Are you making bold moves? Are you walking in your confidence? When we say, now I know my ABCs, it means that we have become so one with them, so intimate with them, so connected with them, that we will never doubt who we are ever again. Know your ABCs. Walk in your ABCs. Can't no one do what you do better than you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That was amazing. One of the things that's really exciting is that we have women from Canada and the States. We even had women applying from the Netherlands. I love that we've gone global, and it's just so interesting to see different speakers and different styles, and you really rocked that performance. And we are moving over to the wonderful, lovely Christina Lepore.
Good evening. It was October 15th, 2017, with my hands shaking like they are right now, and I typed into my computer 5 letters and a hashtag and quickly hit delete. I tried again, took a deep breath, and managed the hashtag with ME, then backspaced. I couldn't do it. There was no way. On my third and final attempt, it was there in black and white. Me too. It was out there. I hit enter, I closed my computer screen, and I went to bed. That night, I tossed and turned all night, thinking about the lessons that I had learned as a young child, were for the most part that secrets were essential to my survival, but also the lessons that I had heard over and over and over again as an adult, that maybe perhaps I was only as sick as my secrets. The next morning when I woke up, my social media was flooded with Me Too. It was everywhere. And within a matter of a few days, every boardroom, every dining room table, and every Hollywood celebrity was saying it out loud. But could I? For the majority of my life, my body told my story for me without me ever needing to utter a single word. Panic attacks, debilitating depression, generalized anxiety disorder, agoraphobia, fear, night terror, suicidal thoughts, and eventually a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. I knew from experience that the truth could be a dangerous thing with dire consequences. But I also knew that suppressing it maybe now had some really serious consequences too. The first person I told outside of my therapist was my mother, who was 91 years old at the time. She held my hand tightly, and with tears streaming down her face, she embraced me and she whispered in my ear words I never, ever had anticipated that I would hear from my own mother. Me too. 80 years, 80 long years, my mother held her silence. And in that moment, neither of us were alone anymore, suddenly, in our silence or in our shame. My mom has become my biggest cheerleader, my greatest ally, my strongest supporter. She's 95 years old now and she's legally blind. She can't read my vlogs every day. She doesn't have the internet, but she calls every day to hear what I've written, as if for some way she's fighting the good fight now, vicariously through me, her youngest daughter. So each time I sit down to write on my Trauma Queen blog, I write for my mom and her mom and her mom and all the other women and girls who came before me, who were never able to speak out loud. And I write for every woman now in the present that is still unable to speak. I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that the moment you speak your truth, whether it's through the written word or out loud to a friend, when the truth becomes air, you will finally breathe again. I began writing my journey on my blog and my memoir to heal myself. And in the process, I have received hundreds and hundreds of emails from women all over the globe who have said that my words have helped them to heal too. Within a few months of the Me Too movement, other things were far more trending. The microphones shut off. The crowds went home. The lights dimmed. And something else became more newsworthy. But I've remained. I've remained in the ring to fight for women and girls everywhere, and our rights, our inalienable rights to safety, to dignity, to respect, and to equality. I don't do this anymore so much to talk about my Me Too story as to beg the question, now what? And to challenge others to do the same. That in the hopes that one day, someday, in the not so distant future, a woman or girl somewhere will hashtag not me. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Christina, I have shivers. Honey, I love you so much. And I know that was terrifying, and I'm so proud of you. And it's moments like that where you put that out there, that there are people everywhere that are resonating. You know, your words mean something to so many people. So thank you for pushing through that fear to share. We're going to move on to our next speaker. And now you see why we do these events, how important they are, and how powerful these shares really are. So our next speaker tonight, Catherine Wallace.
Good evening, everyone. Just making sure you can hear me because I've had some technical difficulties. I hope I'm good. Catherine Wallace, please report to the office. I was 16 and in grade 10. I could feel my face blushing as I left class. I pushed the door of the office open and the school secretary said, "Your mother is waiting for you down at the front of the school." My heart sunk. I felt sick. What did she know? Not the deepest secret that I'd been hiding. There she was in the car. I got in. She looked at me and she said, "Why did you not tell us you were pregnant?" My stomach did flips and I was not looking forward to seeing my father. They were both lovingly disappointed. I had two options, to keep the baby or give it up for adoption. I knew all too well what that was like, as I was adopted as a baby myself. Those deep-rooted feelings of rejection and identity loss had me in a relationship with a handsome 17-year-old young man. But how could I do this? What choice did I have? I was heading to an unwed mother's home and stayed there for the summer of 1978. I was greeted by nuns with warm hugs and angelic smiles. The days and the weeks led into the final month of my pregnancy, and with one routine check at the hospital, my blood pressure had gone sky high. "We have to perform a C-section," my doctor said. "You're at risk and we might not be able to save the baby." The nurses ripped off my gown and started slathering iodine on my tummy. Whisking me down the hallway, I was alone, frightened, and I prayed. Opening my eyes after surgery, there were my parents. "He's beautiful," they said. I had to see him alone. I got my housecoat on and my little pink slippers and scooted down the hallway to the ICU. There he was. He was tiny and wearing a little blue knitted hat. My tears flowed down my sweet cheeks and my heart was ripped apart in pieces, knowing I would never see him again. That wounded young girl stayed inside of me for years as I grew into a woman and had two incredible children of my own. I began to heal the day I forgave myself. I had given the greatest gift, the precious gift of life. I am happy to say that after 42 years, he found me. We all have that little girl inside with stories that carry us into womanhood. They are the energy of our soul and what has transformed us to be the women we are today. Happy International Women's Day, ladies.
Thank you so much, Catherine. That was so beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing with us. We're going to move on to Malika Simmons.
I am unstoppable. I am limitless. My worth is undeniable, irrefutable, and I am sustained wholly by God. I exist in the now. I hold power now. My moment is now. By the power of my beliefs, coupled with my purposeful, fearless actions and my deep rapport with God, my future is created and my abundance made manifest. I will grow, maintain, and sustain multiple legs of international business. I'm looking for those who are looking for me, successful, striving, positive world changers, are looking to join my business, contribute to my causes, and pay me for my talents, my time, my words, and my wisdom. What if that's how you started every day? How would it change the trajectory of your life, of your day, of your being, of who you are? Now, that's what I do, but it always wasn't that way. It wasn't always that way. My name is Malika Simmons. That's Malika, as in I like a Malika, and I'm the creator of the Momentology method. Momentology is a study and practice with an emphasis on practice, y'all, of operating in the now, succeeding right now with what you have in this moment. Learn to move from WHEN to WIN. You know, when I have this done, I'll be happy. When I get this degree, I'll be set. When I do this other thing, then I'll be successful. That's not how it works. Stop waiting for external permission and start winning with internal intention. I was pregnant with my daughter, the only woman of color, in a meeting that I was supposed to be running. And an older white gentleman asked me to go get his coffee as he pats my hand. Now, instead of informing him that this was my meeting or telling him that there's an app for that, I got so upset, I walked out. I got into my car and I drove away. Sitting in a parking lot a block away, I wasn't sure if I was more upset about leaving or crying. Crying my eyes out, I held onto my belly and I promised my daughter. I made a determination that I would never let anyone diminish her potential, not even her. I now serve unapologetically from my zones of joy and genius, and I encourage other women to do the same. The momentology method helps women, especially servant leading women, to outshine that dull story of less than. Now, I love those I am enough quotes as much as the next person, but I promise you, you are not only enough, you are more than enough. You are all that is needed. So let me help you with the math. Your outside existence is equal to your inside insistence. When you are constantly living your life in a state of awareness, gratitude, and expectance, things open up for you in ways that you cannot imagine. That's what I call a momentous life. It's how you sail when there is no wind, achieve when the ceiling is close, get out of your own way to fulfill your purpose that God has for you. It's possible for you. Stop giving away your power and stand in the presence of your promise. Momentology helps you get clarity about who you are and what you want, confidence that you're the one to pull it off, and conviction to see it through unapologetically. Never give anyone the power to feed you, because then they have the power to starve you. You are what you've been waiting for. You have the power to change your life one moment at a time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so powerful. Loved it. We are moving on to Amy Morgan Davis.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Speaker Slam, for this amazing opportunity. I'm so excited to share my story with you. From a young age, I had big dreams and aspirations. After watching the Miss America pageant, year after year, I loved seeing the beautiful contestants compete, and I actually could see myself doing that one day. To pursue this dream, I knew I needed to really pursue my talents and continue to build my confidence. And growing up, I learned the importance of goal setting and being actively involved in school, in extracurricular activities. So musical theater was my passion. I also pursued piano and violin performance, and I cheered through junior high and high school. So I was very involved. When I got into college, I was chosen on the varsity cheer team at Weber State University, and I was on a full ride scholarship. At age 19, my life took a huge turn for the worse. I was involved in a very serious cheerleading accident. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a brain injury survivor. What happened? Well, I was tossed the wrong direction. My partner, on that third day of my third year of college, ended up quickly catching one of my legs, and I in turn whipped back like a slingshot effect, and I hit the back of my skull on the unfinished pavement. Diagnosis: I was immediately knocked unconscious. I lay there lifeless, and I stopped breathing on the scene. I had suffered a fractured skull, a severe concussion, internal bleeding in my brain, and bruising to my frontal lobe and the back of my spine. Well, your brain is in control of all your emotions and executive skills. So after returning to school as a musical theater major and piano performance minor, I found it really difficult to return back to my normal activities. And I was also very much given the chance to deal with unexpected challenges, such as emotional trauma, balance and coordination difficulty, lack of focus and concentration in school, depression. I also had a lot of problems with my balance, and my sense of smell, and I was irritated by loud noises. This really caused me to have to get support from my family and friends and doctors, and I used music to help me along the way. My accident and the challenges I faced ended up helping me to fulfill a lifetime dream. I ended up competing in the Miss America pageant and won the title of Miss Utah after taking on this platform of brain injury awareness and sharing and being willing to share my story with others. Through this experience, I learned to overcome these challenges only because I continued to have a positive mindset and use what I call the 5 Ps: patience, practice, persistence, perseverance, and preparation. Our journey in life isn't always easy, and we sometimes feel like we might be failing. And there were times I felt like giving up. Being discouraged is very normal, and especially when we have small setbacks along the way. But as long as we follow through and we choose not to give up, we can get through those tough times by using our experiences to make us stronger and even more prepared to achieve our dreams. Many people think that I've been lucky in my life to have accomplished so much. But my dad always reminds me, Amy, this quote: luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to if you map out your goals, make a plan, commit to it, and never give up. And by doing this, we can win together. You can follow me at Win with Amy. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was inspiring, and it makes me think of that quote that everyone may be fighting a battle we know nothing of. So thank you for sharing that with us. And we are moving on to Nithya Hayward.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and to share with you something my friend told me. She tells me, girl, you better have that wig ready. And I'm always thinking, like, why would I have a wig? I don't like wigs. I don't wear wigs. They're itchy. They're hot. She says, girl, I'm talking about be ready for when the universe says it's on. You don't have time to do your hair, no makeup. Have that wig ready, slap it on, and go. So go means go and live your life. So around this time last year, I was stuck in China. Now, China meaning stuck, meaning quarantine, lockdown, virus all over the place. I was very scared. But prior to that, around the same time in 2019, I was stuck in housing court. I thought I was going to lose my co-op. I thought I was going to lose my life and thinking, how am I going to be a speaker, a comedian? Who's going to listen to me? And I'm here in housing court. So something happened, something snapped where I felt, you know what, this isn't right. I have to make a move. I have to do something. So I'm online and I come across where I am now. And I thought, oh my goodness, life is over. And I thought, my friend said, Nithya, have your wig ready so you can slap it on and go. Didn't cross my mind. So while I'm in China, I'm scared, I'm nervous. And that thought in my mind said, Nithya, do not keep that wig too far away. So go find it or go buy it or something. So I'm thinking, it's the end of the world. It's just the end. What am I going to do? I can't get home. I'm stuck in China. The only brown lady in my apartment building, who's going to help me? Nithya, have your wig on, slap it on, and go. So needless to say, I got through the pandemic, made it home back to where I am now. And I received the message to talk to you today. And I did exactly that. I went to look for that wig in a suitcase, slapped it on, and I go. And I'm right here with you. This is exciting. So I never thought I would have the opportunity to tell a large audience of women, especially on this day, ladies, have that wig somewhere. Slap it on, get ready, and go. Your life is waiting for you. Thank you.
Nithya, I love you. You're speaking my language. I click my hair in. I'm gorgeous on the drop of a dime. I totally relate. I loved everything you had to say. And I'm so glad you got the call last minute and you were able to jump in. So that's fabulous. So thank you for sharing. We're going to move on to the last speaker in the first half, and that is the lovely Tabitha Rose.
Hey, everybody. When the voices outside become the voices within. And this is just one of my stories. It was a Thursday night around 11 p.m. and I closed my laptop. I went into the bathroom, got my toothbrush. I started brushing my teeth, looking down. I turned my eyes up and I met my gaze in the mirror And I looked at my face, and it looked sad, and it looked sullen, and it looked like the face of a woman that was being reamed out. Now I was alone, just me, my toothbrush. And it was the first time I realized the voices inside and what they were saying. And what they were saying was, you just finished writing a book, so what? It should have been done a week ago. It's probably not even good. He's gonna hate it. Then they went on to say, my apartment wasn't good enough, even though I'd been through hell and back to get it. That's another story. I realized the voices inside my head, they were mean, and they'd been there a long time. Now, that weekend, I went to my cottage. My best friend had asked me to participate in a group meditation challenge, and one of the exercises was to write down 50 people who had influenced your life. So I started writing. And when I got halfway through, the names on that list for the first time terrified me. Most of them were men. Most of them were CEOs. Most of them were self-proclaimed tyrants in which I'd previously worked for. See, when the voices from outside become the voices within, they're amplified. They shout and scream. We need to make them count. So entrepreneurs, mothers, creatives, sisters, lovers, strangers to one another, it's an honor to be here tonight. It's a blessing in my life to come together to collect and amplify kind and loving, supportive voices so they can echo in my mind and heart and yours as well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful, Tabitha. I've never heard you speak, and we're so close, so I love having heard that. So that is our first half. I hope everybody has loved that. I mean, I just love the unique stories that everyone has to share, and it really hits home that everybody has a story. You know, we all have things that we're going through. We're going to come back after our break, and we're going to hear from 8 more fabulous women. In the meantime, we are going into a networking break. Dan is going to post some questions in the lobby. I really want you to share when you get into those networking rooms what your story is, what your message is with your partner. And also, I wanted to say when people signed up for this event, we had an option for donation. People have been so generous, and we raised close to $500. Those are for women who have a story and want to speak, want to compete with us, and can't, maybe don't have the funds to do it. And Dan and I are committed to having this opportunity open to as many women as possible. We are prepared to match every dollar that has come in. So that means 10 women are now going to be able to compete on our stage that might not have been able to otherwise. So if you didn't get a chance to donate and you want to, Dan's going to put the link into the chat, and we encourage you to do that. Really give a woman a chance to be seen and heard, a woman that really needs it. Okay, so we're going to go for a break. We're going to be back in 10 minutes at 8:05. If you're speaking in the second half, please join us in our production studio.
hate on us. Niggas be envious. I know why they hating on us. Cause the sky so fabulous. I'ma be real on us. Nobody got nothing on us. Girls be all on us from London back down to the US. We rockin' this contagious. Monkey business outrageous. Just confess your girl admits that we the shit. FRESH we fresh. GEF that's right we different. We definite. BEP we reppin' it. So turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Come on, baby, just pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Inside. Inside. Turn up the radio. Blast your stereo right. This joint is fizzling. It's sizzling. You check this out right here. Do wanna hate on us, do need to ease on up, do wanna act on gut, but do get shut like Flavor Shut. Chick say she ain't down, but chick backstage when we in town. She like men on drum, she wanna hit and run. Yeah, that's the speed, that's what we do, that's who we be. BLACKEYADD to the E, then the I to the S. When we play, you shake your ass. Shake it, shake it, girl. Make sure you don't break it, girl. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Come on, baby, just pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Pump it. Inside. Inside. Turn up the radio. Blast your stereo right. This joint is fizzling. It's sizzling right. High for the eye for the Philadelphia's live and direct rocking the scene. Breaking on down for the B-boys and B-girls, we're in it, do they thing. Pump it, louder, come on, don't stop and keep it going, do it. Let's get it on, move it. Come on, baby, do it. Let the speakers blow your mind. Blow my mind, baby. Let it go, here we go. Come on, yeah.
And we are back, 8:05 on the dot. You may have just been enjoying those networking sessions, but Dan and I are a real stickler for timing. So we are back on the dot. And I will say that at the end of this event, we are going to create a few lounges for you to be able to go into and share and connect with other women, really unpack your feelings and thoughts from the evening. So if you didn't get a chance to speak or you feel like you need more, it's coming. So we're going to jump right back in. I'm going to remind our speakers 2-3 minutes max, and we are going to hear from the lovely Laura Slynn.
In a moment, I'm going to give you a word, and I'd like you to think of the first thing that comes to mind. The word is ISIS. Now, if you're like most people I've played this little game with, you thought of something related to the terrorists who claimed ISIS as their acronym for their dark movement. But it wasn't theirs to take. And since the theme of this particular International Women's Day is choose to challenge, I'm going to challenge you to help me reclaim it. Because if you're like most people, you forgot that Isis is a sacred name, one that belongs to the original Egyptian goddess. And she wasn't just any goddess, she was the goddess, the mother of motherhood, the queen of heaven, goddess of fertility, marriage, and magic. Kind of a big deal, but how easily we forgot. You know, a Google search just a couple of hours ago turned up 110 images of terror before even one image of her showed up. For those of you paying attention, yes, that means that she was the 111th image in my search. And that, my friends, is what we call a sign. Now, Isis and her connection to fertility have long been important to me and a big reason why I haven't forgotten her. You see, a little over a decade ago, I was told I would never be able to get pregnant. My womb was doomed and I had to fight to even get a fertility specialist to see me. And the center that I landed in was called Isis Fertility. I remember feeling like I was in the right place. Well, it turns out that Isis Fertility couldn't get me pregnant, but dealing with my trauma did, and in healing my own Me Too experiences, I spontaneously healed my body and became naturally pregnant. It's an amazing story, and I now have two beautiful little boys who have since blessed my life. But back to Isis, she was a badass, and when her beloved Osiris was killed by his evil brother, and his body parts scattered in the Nile, she went out and she found them. Well, she found almost all of them. You see, his phallus was missing, but Isis fashioned an artificial one and put him back together, breathed him back to life. And well, they got it on and they had the sun god Horus. Hello, Immaculate Conception. And so the story of humanity was writ. Now, their love story was the first ever Immaculate Conception, and it became the template for the Jesus story. And I'm sharing all of this with you now because some 2,000 years later, after Christ, I believe that we're all called to a form of Immaculate Conception, not in the virgin sense, but in the consciousness sense. Sound crazy? Well, who can deny that the dark, profane masculine forces haven't infiltrated our entire world? You see, the profane masculine killed Osiris and his divine masculine at the same time, but the divine feminine restored him. She literally remembered him, and I believe that we're all called to remember her now, called to heal the trauma of the past and conceive a new future by marrying the divine masculine and divine feminine in all of us. Called to remember and called to conceive. So please, on Women's Day, say her name, remember her, and welcome the birth of a new, immaculately conceived world for your children, for my children, and for the sake of the next 2,000 years. Thank you.
Laura, that was such great storytelling and it was so profound. And I loved how you spoke so fast. You were like, I'm going to get in on that timing. I am not going to let Rena down. So thank you so much. That was really powerful. And we are going to move on to Natalia Love.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. It's truly an honor. So I remember being 16 years old and feeling this unfamiliar feeling where this goddess stepped in. My stepfather was beating my mother with his big rattan chair. And I seen her helpless body just over the dining room table as he smashed her back. And I felt this urge, I have to call 911. My first time ever awakening that inner warrior, that inner passion. I used to hide. I was so shy. I was in English as a second language, even though I was born in Canada, because I was too scared to talk. And then once I awakened my goddess and I rescued my mother's life, I made it my mission to empower women. So I'm here to share this beautiful poem called Your Favorite Wishing Star. It's not the color of your lips, the thickness of your body or your thighs, the glitter in your eyelids. Trust me, I love glitter. Or the length of your hair or color of your skin that makes you beautiful. It's a light in your heart, the essence of your breath, your spirit, your authentic vibrational frequencies that make you stand out, that radiates beauty, love, and shines through the universe and beyond. Do not play small. You are as bright as your favorite wishing star. Listen to your heart whispers. You truly have all the answers within. Remember to shine. Carry that glow into all realms of possibilities. Allow your heart to expand beyond time and space. You are as bright as your favorite wishing star. You are as powerful, as vibrant, as magnificent as the stars, moon, and beyond. Your worth is out of this world. More than precious stones, more than gold and platinum combined. Your beauty cannot be measured, and it lays at the highest of highs, beyond the mountain peaks, beyond the sky. You are as bright as your favorite wishing star. The stars do not seek permission to shine. It's a natural phenomenon. Just like you, go shine as bright as your favorite wishing star. And I made an acronym for the word heart, so you can take it with you. My little gift to you. Honor yourself fully. Don't wait for a tragedy to step into your greatness. Embrace love. Self-love is the number one love that you need in order to help anyone else. You need to help yourself. Affirm your worth. Every day, in every way, you are becoming better and better. And realign to your divine, whatever you call your divine, God, universe, source, maker of all things. Realign daily to that higher self, that higher frequency. And the last for the T is trust your intuition wholeheartedly. Trust that inner knowing. Trust your womb, your cosmic womb. It has all the answers. You have all the answers within your heart. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today.
Natalia, I was beaming through that. You are just so adorable. You radiate love. So thank you so much for sharing that. It was adorable. We are going to move on to Caitlin Catilla.
On December 9th, 2019, I sat at my computer, tears rolling down my face as I watched them unveil the portrait of the very first female Premier of Ontario. I cried not because I was sad, but because it reminded me of that fateful day my teacher looked me dead in the eyes and he said, "Caitlin, you will never make it in politics." That was the day that I realized that being a woman in leadership was going to be one long uphill battle. It took 152 years for us to finally see a woman on the walls of Queen's Park, to show every woman and girl across the province that it is possible. But that is 152 years too many. But Caitlin, you ask, why aren't there more women in leadership? There is not a lack of women in leadership due to disinterest. There's a lack of women in leadership because when little girls look in the mirror, they do not see a leader. Society has taught us that women don't lead. We're mothers, caregivers, and healers, but never leaders. And when a woman dare think she has what it takes, she has to fight twice as hard for her voice to be heard, and when she is heard, she's dismissed. And on the odd chance that she is taken seriously, she must dull her shine as to not become a political liability. That if she speaks her truth, no one will elect her. We can no longer pretend that gender is not an issue. When my male partner speaks out against injustices, he is often seen as brave, powerful, and a leader. When I speak out, I am seen as annoying, bitchy, and as if I do not know what I am talking about. But I'm here to tell you that there is hope. To every woman who has been told that your dreams are too big, dream bigger. And if they ever try to shut you up, you look them dead in the eyes and say, "Just you try and stop me." I'm here to tell you that a woman's place is in the council chambers, the legislature, the House of Commons, and the Senate. It's wherever we want to be, doing whatever we want to do, because we are strong, we are powerful, and we will change the world. And if they don't want to give us a seat at the table, then we'll make our own. My teacher may very well be right. I may never make it in politics, but I will continue to fight because I will be damned if women have to wait another 152 years. Thank you.
Damn right, honey. I love to see young women with such a powerful voice. I'm just so happy that you were able to join us tonight. Okay, we are moving on to Christelle Biga.
What does it take to become successful? I left my country 5 years ago to pursue my American dream. I barely spoke English. I had no friends or family waiting for me here. All I had was $2,500 on a Visa card, 2 suitcases, and a head full of dreams. My American dream almost turned into a nightmare when an immigration officer decided to deport me because he said I was coming to work as a prostitute. Yes. Finally, Joe decided to let me stay, and I'm proud to say that I'm living my American dream today. The first time I shared my story on social media, people reached out to me from all over the world, asking me, how did you do that? We want to do the same. Who can blame them? Isn't that what we are taught to do? Learn from the people that have done what we are trying to do? I have done the exact same thing. I have paid a lot of money to successful coaches and mentors because I thought that was the shortcut to becoming successful. Girl, was I wrong. Hi, my name is Crystal Biga, motivational speaker and podcast host. All successful people have a different story. They have paths that are completely different from one another, but some way, somehow, everybody wants to do exactly what they did, when in reality, all they did was to go after their dream. They had no plan other than succeed. They had no formula. They had faith. Faith that they could do it. Faith that one day it will happen. Faith that it was possible. They did it without a winning strategy. They did it before being prepared. They did it afraid. When I was coming in the US, I thought I had a plan. I realized soon enough that my plan was a joke. I had to figure something else out. I had to adjust as life was happening. I had to fight battles that I had no plan to fight. I prayed prayers that I never thought I would pray. I don't know what your dreams are. All I know is that there is no perfect plan or strategy that will get you there. No, sister. So if you are waiting for someone to give you a 3, 5, 10 step-by-step process on how to become successful, look into the mirror. Yes, that's right, sister. You are the person you have been looking for. The key to becoming successful is not learning all the tips and tricks. It's going after your dream, believing that you have what it takes to make it happen, and trusting that whatever happens, one day it will all come together. You got this, sister. Happy Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very inspiring. We are now moving on to one of the lucky women who had her name drawn today. I hope she is ready. We are moving on to Nicole Shiner.
What did you say? I asked my grandmother as a look of shock spread across my face. I feel sorry for you, she repeated. But how could that be? She was a woman who had been abused her entire marriage. I was in a loving and safe relationship. But as she continued, I realized she was talking about the pressure on working moms to try to do it all and how disconnected and lonely we can feel. In comparison to her own experience, every day, she said, after my mom and aunts left for school, she would gather with the neighborhood women, talking, laughing, eating, sometimes all day. She smiled mischievously as she said she would sometimes throw clothes on the ironing board to make it look like she had been busy working. I don't know if those women knew what a lifeline they were to my grandmother, but I do know they knew what mattered. Today, on International Women's Day, and what would have been my grandmother's 95th birthday, I want to celebrate the strength and the wisdom of the women who came before us, and to remind us that we can call on that same strength and wisdom and the life-saving power of women When we choose to reject perfectionism and the pressure to do it all, and instead make connection and celebration of one another a priority, just as my grandmother and her friends did.
Thanks so much, Nicole. That was really powerful. We are moving on to Lisa White.
It was January 2019. At 49 years old, I was excited to get in the best shape of my life. I felt fierce, strong, and ready to conquer the world. I had no idea the trauma that I was about to face. With no warning, I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometrial cancer. In the span of 2 months, I had a hysterectomy and began chemotherapy. I lost all of my long hair. I lost my ability to ever have children. And I had felt like I had lost part of who I was as a woman. I was devastated. And for the first time in my life, I had to face my own mortality. I made a decision that year. I would not allow cancer to define who I was as a woman. I chose to be vulnerable, and I went out in public showing off my beautifully bald head. You see, learning to be vulnerable is less about being strong. It is more about being courageous. Courageous vulnerability is not a weakness. It's choosing to show up as your authentic, true self, no matter what anyone else thinks. With all of your beautiful mess, your tears, your joys, your bravery as you face the unknown. My hope for you today is that you will lean into your own courageous vulnerability. May your authenticity be an inspiration to others. May your life be a legacy. In 2020, my scans came back cancer-free. Courageous vulnerability, this is what it means to be fierce. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And I will say, when Lisa applied, she put a link to a song, and it was so beautiful. I sent it to Dan right away and said, we need this woman. Like this, it was so inspiring. It shivers. And Lisa, if you can, put a link to that song in the chat room and hop in. I think people would really love to hear that. So we are moving on to Valeria Ponis.
Well, thank you, Dan and Rina, for this opportunity to speak. Let's face it, there has never been a better time in history to be a woman. And it's thanks to celebrations like International Women's Day that we get the chance to shine a special spotlight in our role in society. And we get to do it pretty loudly and proudly. There's still so much that needs to be made to achieve gender parity, but we definitely owe it to ourselves to stop and to celebrate all the long road traveled. The appointment of Kamala Harris as a VP of the United States this year is just the most recent example, but there are many other feats much less acclaimed that women have achieved and that deserve to be celebrated. I do strongly believe that we need to capitalize on the momentum that we have created with all the social justice movements that have gained great ground in 2020, and also to hold each other accountable to strengthen this sense of collectiveness that's growing in our society. A greater number of previously socially marginalized individuals, especially women, that were always eager to lead and to learn, are now poised to lead even more and to help each other to continue aspiring to the higher. But in order for us to internalize this change and not just simply intellectualize it, we need to gain more awareness on the impact that our everyday actions make in our journey to parity. 10 weeks ago, I became a mom. I gave birth to my first child, and my husband and I made a decision that it would make the most sense for him to be the primary caregiver of the child. This decision was met by surprise by the store owner, where he went to create a baby registry, or the doctor's office where he went to get my son's vaccines. And this surprise simply came from the fact that there was an expectation for a woman to be present at that time. These expectations are frankly completely unjustified, and all they end up doing is just holding us back. So let's take this International Women's Day as an opportunity to remind ourselves that the journey to full parity requires our intentional and relentless effort to recognize our unconscious biases. An equal world and a happier world, a better world, is one where gender parity is woven in our everyday actions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I know you were thrown in the last minute, so you did a really impressive job with that. So we are going to finish with our last community speaker tonight before we get into our final speakers, and that is Miss Laura Beauparlant.
I'm 25 years old. Okay, not really. On November 12th, 1995, I was in a head-on collision with a drunk driver and almost died. So while I lived for 18 years before the accident, I truly came to life 25 years ago. This event changed the trajectory of my life. And what I didn't know at the time was that the greatest misfortune of my life would actually turn out to be my greatest gift. It's actually a day I've celebrated for years, not because of what happened, but because of who I've become and what I have achieved. It taught me to enjoy the journey, to not wait for someday, to not live with regret, and to forge my own path. It showed me that anything, and I mean anything, can create a positive ripple if we let it. Don't get me wrong, I didn't always feel this way. The first 2 years of recovery were rough, to say the least. And the last photos of my scars were taken by my mom as we prepared for a lawsuit. They were taken to capture the ugliness and the trauma, as you can see. So for the 25th anniversary last year, I wanted to capture their beauty and their strength. What would I tell the younger me in this photo? I love you. You are courageous and strong. Yes, this is a defining time in your life, but it doesn't define you. I've learned so many things from this experience and the many that followed, and I want to leave you with this. Living, truly, truly living, means collecting scars along the way. It's not about our scars defining us. It's what the scars teach us and how we can use those scars to teach others. So what have your scars, both visible and invisible, taught you about yourself? And what is the ripple you are creating? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was really powerful. I loved how the images really supported what you had to say, and it was a great message. It's really powerful to end on. And I'm really proud of all of the women that stepped up to share. And you know what's interesting is I was struggling with the idea of saying our guest speakers, our featured speakers, because every woman here tonight deserves to be featured. Every single woman here really represented women so powerfully, and I'm so proud of everyone who's spoken. And we're going to move into our last two speakers of the evening before we get into our breakout sessions. And I wanted to introduce Samra Zafar. She is an award-winning international speaker, scholar, social entrepreneur, and whose story of being a teen bride and survivor of domestic abuse became a best-selling memoir, A Good Wife. So please help me welcome Samra Zafar. Thank you so much, Rena. And I'm just so honored and honestly thrilled to be here. And I was privileged and lucky enough to be able to catch some of the stories of the incredible women that just spoke before me. So really humbled to be in your company. And my story really has been a story that really resonates with today's theme of choosing to challenge. I grew up in a very patriarchal society and community where I was often told that my dreams were too big because I was a girl. My dreams were not valid. I should stay within my limits. I shouldn't have all these ambitions and goals. And even then, even growing up and hearing all these messages around me, I was always feeling like there's something more to life. Like this can't possibly be true. I can't, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean that I can't dream of changing the world and making a difference and being in leadership roles or getting an education. And then when I was 16 years old, my mom came into my room one day and informed me that in a few months I would be getting married to a man who lived in this faraway country called Canada. And a few months after that, just after my 17th birthday, I was sitting in a big grand banquet hall decked up in red and gold beside this man who was 11 years older than me, who was an absolute stranger, and I was now his wife. And a few months after that, I arrived in this country, this strange, big, beautiful, and very cold country called Canada, as his wife. I became a teenage mom, and I faced many, many years of oppression, abuse, and injustice. And I didn't even know what to call it then. I didn't even recognize, because I had never learned to recognize. I had been in that cycle of violence my whole life. My father was an abuser. I had seen him treat my mom that way. So I thought that is just normal. I didn't even know that what was happening to me was wrong. Many years and many days, I felt like I was living in a dark space with enough air that I could just breathe and survive, but not enough to be able to breathe freely and thrive. It was like living in a state of constant suffocation, living in constant anxiety, waking up every day and just wishing it would be a dull, uneventful day, because that would be a good day, because that would be a safe day. And it took me many, many years to fight my way out of it. I completed my high school courses through distance learning because I was not allowed to go to a proper high school. I then started working as a babysitter at home to save money secretly because I was not allowed to go out and get a job, because the women who go out were shameless women. So I started a home-based babysitting service, and even though all my money was always taken away from me, I would still stash $50, $100, $200, whatever I could muster on the side every single month secretly to build my little $2,500 nest egg that I needed to be able to pay for my first year university fee as a part-time student. And finally, after 10 years of marriage and having 2 children, and going through all of that oppression, I was able to start university at the age of 26. And when I started university, things changed for me. I was being treated with kindness and respect for the first time in my life, and for the very things that I was always being ridiculed for at home: my intelligence, my ambitions, my goals, and my individuality. And that is what enabled me to eventually be able to ask for help, to go to the counseling center at university. I came across a sign that had a bunch of questions on it. Do you feel intimidated? Do you feel like you can't speak up, like you can't go on, like you're always living in fear? And that sign called me out to go and seek help. And then when I was in my first counseling session, the floodgates opened. Can you please tell me what's wrong with me? Can you tell me what I need to do in order to be a good wife? Can you tell me where I'm going wrong? What is that secret to being a good wife that keeps eluding me? Maybe if I cook better food, wash better clothes, keep the baby quiet at night, not talk too much, not have opinions, not express opinions. What do I need to do to be good enough? And that's when someone said to me for the very first time, Samra, it's not your fault. You do not deserve to be abused. You do not deserve to be treated this way. It took me another 2 years to get education, to get knowledge of my rights as a woman, as a Canadian, and as a human being, to know that there is support out there that I can ask for, there is help out there that I can avail. And also learn, most importantly, that the generational cycle to abuse perpetuates itself. And I grew up watching abuse in my family. I normalized it in my family, in my marriage. I did not want my daughters to grow up watching that, normalizing that, and then and tolerating it in their own lives for any reason, least of all for their gender. That's what was my motivating drive to be able to walk away from that marriage, because I knew that I wanted to provide my daughters with a better future and a better life. It wasn't easy. There were many days when I felt like I should go back because I faced cultural shame and stigma even from my own family. There were many times when I was living in poverty, when I didn't even know where my next month's rent is going to come from or where I'll do groceries from next week. And I was working multiple minimum wage jobs on campus to make ends meet, even selling butter chicken and biryani to students living on campus to help pay for my groceries. Going to school full-time, raising my children single-handedly. There were many, many dark moments. But in those dark moments, there were people who came with some kind words, with a tub of ice cream at my door to drown our sorrows in sugar, who shone a light into my darkness. And those are the people who helped elevate me and helped me believe that I was not alone in my journey and in my pain and in my struggle. Eventually, when I graduated from the university as a top student and I got a lot of success, more than I could ever have imagined, I wanted to pay it forward because I knew that my story was not just mine. My story was the story of millions and millions of women and girls around the world who continue to suffer and struggle in silence because of the shame and stigma and the taboo that surrounds these topics. But there is no honor in silence. Silence only helps the oppressor, never the oppressed. There are so many voices out there that are silenced every single day. 1 in 3 women in Canada struggle with some kind of intimate partner violence at some point in their lives. 1 in 2 of us struggle with some kind of physical or sexual violence in our lives. That is not the world that we want to live in, and that is not the world we want our daughters to grow up in. So when a woman comes forward, let's support her. Let's amplify her voice. Let's make her feel like she's a champion for breaking the silence. And if we go through something like that, let's break that silence and let's put that shame where it belongs, which is only with the abusers, because there is no honor in silence. Our honor lies in our freedom and our ability to be ourselves freely and unapologetically. And last but not least, we all need to do our part to speak up and to help amplify those voices, because there are still millions of silences that are still waiting to be broken. Thank you. Thank you so much, Samra. And I love that line, there's no honor in silence. And I think tonight we are definitely using our voices. So we're going to move on to our last speaker of the night. I'm really excited to introduce this lovely woman. Not only is she an educator, she's a speaker, she's a facilitator, she's a brilliant businesswoman, but she's actually our 2020 Inspirational Speaker of the Year. I have cried through her speeches. I've had shivers through her speeches. She has gone viral, and she's become a good friend. So I'm very proud to introduce Merlina Valentine.
I remember when my whole world went dark and my life was forever altered. I was placed in a medically induced coma and my body battled sepsis with only a 10% chance of surviving. A ventilator was my lifeline, yet the very tube vital to my survival took away one of my most precious gifts, my voice. When I finally awakened, the only sounds I heard in the absence of my voice came from the beeping of machines that kept me alive. My thoughts raced as I faced the grim reality that if I did not survive this, a powerful voice that had instructed, empowered, and inspired thousands could possibly be silenced forever. I endured weeks of this deafening silence, The quietness was so boisterous, it attempted to drown out even my inner voice. Initially, I leaned into the comfort of the silence because the inability to ask questions about my prognosis, it gave me a sense of solace from the reality of my uncertain future. But then a familiar voice roared from within and spoke directly to my fear. It was the voice of my faith, and it bellowed to me that I would again rise up, speak up, and be heard. And when that invasive tube was finally removed, I proclaimed, I'll never again be silenced. My battle to survive was won, but I did not leave that battlefield unscathed. The tumultuous terrain of my new path in life would now be navigated by me as a quadruple amputee. It was not long before the turning point happened in my life, and I discovered the healing power in my words. I was requested to speak at an empowerment seminar, and I accepted. It would be the first message for me that I would share in public since my medical tragedy. We arrived at that venue early, and I was ready for my big night. The parking lot was filled, and the only spot open was the one reserved for me. The nervous butterflies in my stomach, well, they swiftly transformed into a raging volcano. My husband, well, he pushed my wheelchair down the ramp from our van straight to the front door. And suddenly I yelled, "Stop! I need a moment." I glanced down at my recently amputated hands and legs, still wrapped in bandages, and questions swirled in my head so much that the fear and doubt made me dizzy. What was I thinking when I said yes to this so soon after my tragedy? Was I ready truly to face total strangers? Would my message resonate with this audience? And at this very low point in my life, could I possibly inspire anyone? I took a deep breath and I signaled to my husband I was ready to enter the building. The door swung open and I was petrified by the huge turnout. I quieted my mind for a moment and forced myself inward to the space where I knew my tenacity resided. In that moment, something shifted in my life, and I felt compelled to share my insightful words. No matter how scared I was, no matter how afraid I was, I had to do it. The microphone was placed right in front of me, and the whole room went silent. I nervously uttered my first words, and as they left my mouth, I witnessed their immediate impact on the faces of those in the crowd. I watched people sit up a little straighter and lean in as I spoke of the power we all possess to persevere and overcome. The head nods and smiles and laughter and even the tears all confirmed for me that my words indeed had value. My message healed that room one heart at a time. And I felt the fractured pieces of me, well, they were being restored with each word. My tragedy would not define me. Instead, it prepared me to step bravely into the power of my story. Each of us has a story filled with the wounds and scars of our past pains and struggles and insecurities. The seeds of fear and doubt get planted deeply and take root in our souls and insidiously render us worthless. We persistently relive incidents when something happened that made us feel less valuable or persuaded us to remain silent or complacent. Some of us have even been conditioned to shrink and mute our voices for fear that we might stir up some controversy or make someone feel uncomfortable. But there is such immense power in not only sharing our victories, but also sharing the times we've struggled and made it through. Our words can illuminate the path for others who may be fumbling in obscurity, trying to find their way. We must allow our words to be amplified and our voices to be heard, and choose to stand in our power. Each time I share a message, I feel my very soul being renewed. Speaking my truth empowers me to realize my self-worth. And in November, when I won Speaker Slam's 2020 title of Inspirational Speaker of the Year, well, it was indeed the confirmation I needed that I matter, that my voice matters, and that I have an impactful message that needs to be heard. On this International Women's Day, when the theme is choose to challenge, well, I choose. I choose to break through the silence and the complacency and use my bold and audacious voice to call out, to confront, to disrupt what serves to oppress and divide us. And as their campaign states, from challenge comes change. And so I raise my hand and ask you all to join me as we pledge together to choose to challenge. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Merlina. That was so beautiful. And all I could think about was, you've won our speaking competition, so our lives are forever entwined now. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, I'm so proud of you. And when you speak, I just think the whole world gets to see this is what it means to be an inspirational speaker. And we couldn't have been more blessed than to have you as our representative. So thank you so much. And it was the perfect way to end this beautiful evening with Dan. Now you're a man, but were you impressed by this?
I was. Inside, there was things that I haven't felt in a long time. Feelings. And and it felt good because, this is the type of space that we are creating, and this is what we want. And I just love hearing women share, and I'm ready to now where's my voice? I want to amplify my voice.
You were inspired.
I was inspired.
Yeah. Okay. I
want to speak now, and I'm sure there's people at home that are just as excited to share themselves. And the best opportunity to share right now on one of our stages is with our next competition, which is self-acceptance. And I'm excited for this competition, Rena. Like, me and Rena try and live the themes ourselves. And so whenever a good theme comes around, I'm going to live it. And so we're going to live this.
We're all about self. We've just gained 20, 30 pounds. Okay, we're going to admit it. So we're into accepting ourselves, right? So that's why we created that theme. So
yeah, it's to give us some flexibility. Where we've always come up with these body beautiful fitness and motivation. It's so hard.
Exactly.
But so that is our upcoming event, and we're really excited about it. The deadline is somewhere in April, and you should apply on our new website, speakerslam.org. We're international, baby.
We are.
You gotta check out what we're doing because we're really excited about where we're headed. And plus, we also have Youth Slam that is happening. So if you know a teen that would like to compete in a Speaker Slam, this is the perfect opportunity.
Yes. And can I just say before we kind of wrap up the night, how impressed I am by you. We had 16 speakers and we had 3 guest speakers, and you had to create posters. People were coming in. I couldn't even believe that you actually created a poster on the fly like that for people that we were just announcing momentarily. You're a master, right?
I make it look easy. Back here, I'm sweating. I'm like,
that's why I stick with this guy. Okay. So more importantly, we have big things happening right now. So we have in the main hop-in room, you'll see sessions on the side. There's 2 sessions being led by the lovely Daniela Chase and Navi Bliss. Both members are of our emerging speaker program. We also have an expo out there highlighting our emerging speaker program. But this isn't all about us tonight. This is about you. Although feel free to browse. No one's stopping you there. We have a booth that talks about our emerging speakers. So go get into one of those sessions right now and share how you felt. It's your time to shine. It's your time to speak.
Go amplify your voice.
Go amplify your voice.
All right.
Okay.
With that, have a good night and mix and mingle and meet as many women as you can, because I know I will be.